Gotta love getting paid from the dispensaries. Little baggies of cash. Yeah, buddy. There it is. Paper, paper, paper. Go out there and get yours. Okay? Have a good day. Sweet. We're going to be servicing the Assa locking system here. We've got a working key on this one. You can see we've got the sidebar and then everything's kept here. We can't service this one from the top, so we're going to have to just go ahead and service it the old-fashioned way. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out. And we're going to start off by using a small Phillips head screwdriver to remove the drive cam from the back. This takes its own special drive cam. You can't just interchange it with any other Mortise cylinder. Now we insert the key, rotate 90 degrees just like you would on any other lock, and remove the cylinder. Be very, very careful of that sidebar and those sidebar springs. Those are some of the smallest components of this locking cylinder that I'm pulling out right now. And if you lose those, you're definitely not going to be able to find them if they fall on the floor. Now I'm going to remove all of the key pins for this lock. And you can see that the holes are actually serrated. That's what I'm pointing out right there, is those holes are serrated. So they lock into serrated pins that are in the top as well, making it very pick resistant. What I'm pointing out now are those little pins that I'm pointing out with those tweezers. Those are hardened pin inserts. They are for the anti-drill protection, or the drill protection of the lock, that prevent a regular conventional drill bit from drilling through the lock. If you hit that with a regular drill bit, it's the same hardness, if not harder, so it deflects off and does not allow you to attack the sidebar. Now I'm pulling the key out one by one, and then pulling these sidebar finger pins out along with the springs. And you can see that sometimes they need a little help coaxing out of there, but I'm just completely disassembling this lock so you can see all of the moving components and all of the components that actually make it an extremely high security locking system. Now we're going to take the pins out of the Bible of the lock, out the top of the lock, the top pins, drop the springs as well, and you can see those serrations on those pins. Those lock up in the serrations in the plug and just make this lock practically impossible to pick. I do not believe that I have actually seen a legitimate picking of an Assa Twin 6000 or V10 or a system like this that has actually been picked when it's fully loaded. Now you'll see that there's two more anti-drill protection pieces right there, and then that top cap is pressed in. You could possibly service that. If you had to, I believe you can remove that cap, but you need another cap to press back in, and you need a pressing device to be able to press it back in so that it holds all of the pins in place. There's another top pin in there. You can see there are specialty top pins that actually match the bottom pins. So when you're keying or setting up an Assa lock like this, you actually need to match the top pins to the bottom pins. So that tells you in the pinning kit exactly how to do that and exactly what top pin matches with what bottom pin, so that you can build this lock properly and not overstack it. They do that so that you can provide equal spring pressure from each one of those pins. Now we've got the plug back in our hands, and we're going to start rebuilding everything. We're going to start putting these teeny tiny little springs back on the sidebar pins, and you can see there's a little hole at the top of it. That's how you know the spring goes in the hole, or the spring goes in and then the hole goes over the spring, and then you actually use the key, the tip of the key, to hold that sidebar pin in place. So you kind of shove it in and then run the key blank into it, and it holds it in place so that it doesn't come flying apart. That's the main difference between servicing these locks and other types of more conventional locks. The key plays a much bigger factor in assembly and disassembly. Now normally you would just be rekeying the top pins, but you can change the sidebar as well. You could actually use this for keying, master keying, and all kinds of other stuff. by changing the sidebar out and putting it on a different keyway. Now we're going to put those key pins back in place. As you can see here, put all those back in place, and it's nice and smooth and flat and flush on top with original Assa supplied pins. Here is the Assa high security pin kit. We ended up losing one of those springs, as I mentioned earlier, and there's the sidebar there. So we had to borrow a spring from the pin kit because they can just absolutely, I mean, if you look at them wrong, they fly across the room, and they are so small they are just gone. Here we are with a follower, and we're going to set everything back up and put everything back together. Now we put the drive cam back on using that little Phillips head screwdriver. Tighten those screws down, and now everything is set and ready to go. Now we're going to show how to rekey a lock that does not have a key. This one is a deadbolt, and it is serviceable from the top. So again, we're going to start off with that Phillips head screwdriver, and we're going to take the back components off, the tailpiece off of the lock. Now I'm going to grab a Allen head wrench that will fit these little Allen head screws that come from the top. When you don't have a working key, this is about the only way to really get this open. These locks are such tight tolerances, it would be very difficult to shim this lock open. I've tried to do that before, and it is a frustrating process. There are so many lips and ridges and edges with those top pins that it wrinkles your shim up and causes a whole significant amount of problems. So the fact that we can actually service this from the top like this is very, very helpful. Here we go, we're going to take all these top springs right out of here. Then we should be able to dump the top pins out of the top of the lock. And this one is actually master keyed, as you can see. And we also have different types of top pins. You notice there's different serrations and different shapes of those top pins as well. Here's a small top pin that is designed to work with a large bottom pin. The other thing you want to remember is Assa uses their numbering backwards. So where Schlage would have a number 9 depth as the largest pin or the deepest cut, Assa number 1 cut is the largest pin or the deepest cut. So you want to keep that in mind when you're building your systems, as it's a little bit backwards from most of the other systems. Here we go, we're going to go ahead and insert this key, and we should be able to key that up to it and put the proper pins in to make sure that this is going to work and function. You have to have your own sidebar on the bottom, and that's what indicates your keyway for the Assa system. Here we go, we're going to put some top pins in and use the Rekey pin kit to go ahead and put those key pins in place. You'll notice one of the other key pins actually had serrations in it too. Again, just the precision craftsmanship of this lock. They go above and beyond the Call of Duty to make sure that this thing is as pick resistant as possible. Extremely difficult lock. I've actually sent one of these locks to Lockpicking Lawyer, and I do not believe he was able to pick it because we have not seen any kind of video or anything on it. And we're going to go ahead and slide that back in place. Now we can service it conventionally. Unload everything up from the top. Load those top pins back in place. And we'll go ahead and put our springs back in place as well to provide that top spring tension. Make sure that none of them are collapsed or bent or damaged in any way. And then put the little Allen head screws back in place and make sure they are flush and flat and below the surface so that that will fit into the housing that it needs to fit into. I'll reapply the rear tailpiece. Apply those screws back in. These are all custom parts. You're not going to be able to interchange this with anything else. As a small business, RMR, or recurring monthly revenue, is a huge factor and has literally changed the way I do business. Simply by leaving some information about the Halo Pulsar security system can add thousands to your monthly income. Click below. All right, I got some pretty major problems here. Obviously, the return spring is not returning that. Obviously, we have a big giant crack there. Obviously, we have strip screws here. That just rattles right out, and I can just pull that right out. And then the inside seems to be okay, but everything in this area has beat this lock up pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and replace this with a Dexter Passage C1000 cylindrical lever set 2060 finish. Here we go. We're going to use a detent tool to push in the little detent, and the lever will come off. This outer portion really gave me a hard time. It was stuck on there really good, so we actually had to get a little O-ring puller to go ahead and help that out. These screws are absolutely amazing for stripped mounting screws because they lay nice and flat so they don't interfere. But it also is just like the next size up, which is absolutely perfect, and they're designed for metal as well. So really nice little tip right there. Those screws will save the day. Now we put the chassis of the lock in, and then we're installing the two back plates, and then the outer portion right here. Put that handle right on. Bingo, everything is good to go. Just a few minutes to make a few $100. Thanks for watching. Okay, so somebody has put duct tape on top of the door for some reason, and that is your problem. I don't know why they would do that, but there we go. Alrighty. This episode is sponsored by Freeman Manufacturing and the SDK1 Safe Deposit Lock Killer Kit, using these hole saws and posts to be able to pull the nose. Now, we're not going to be able to show you exactly how this tool works here in this public format, but trust me, it is your best friend in safe deposit work. Next, we're going to defeat and replace this mess that you see. So we will be replacing this Marks M99 exit lever trim. You have to start by taking off the exit device on the inside. This one has 2 screws that go through to the studs on the lever trim itself, and then there are 4 additional screws. Then when you move that out of the way, there's another little backing plate that has 2 more additional screws in it. And you can see that I'm kind of struggling to get this off of there. That is because there's an extra plate out there, and that extra plate was not cut correctly. Therefore, I'm going to save myself some time. I'm going to put on my jig and then go ahead and recut that hole out to 2 1/8 and line it up correctly so that we don't have to fight that in the future anytime we have to take anything off. Then we just go ahead and put that Marks exit device back in place. Make sure that the pieces are going to be compatible, and obviously this is a direct replacement, so it absolutely is. Then once we get the lever trim installed and the plate installed, I like to go ahead and lubricate everything up a little bit, make sure that it's working really nice and smooth before I leave. This is also next to an area where there's chemicals and a lot of moisture, so we really wanted to make sure that everything was hydrated and operating properly. Bingo, and there you have it. This is a clutched exit lever trim as well, so the handle will actually move up and down even though it's not actually moving the latch or retracting the latch. You have to have the key in, so this is a storeroom function lever. And to rekey, if we're going to go ahead and rekey this, which we did need to do here, just go ahead and push that little detent in, pop the lever off just like you would do a normal conventional cylinder, and voila. Gotta love the Colorado snow. Here we're going to go ahead and take apart and rebuild this Schlage Mortise body lock. These can be some of the most complex locking systems that you will find out in the field, and it's a really good idea to do practice like this here, where you actually take apart the unit and then actually rebuild it so you know exactly where all the parts are, what those parts do, and have pictures along the way. I will always take pictures every single step of the way. When I remove a part, I'll pull it out, take a picture, pull something off, take a picture, and then you have a really good roadmap as to what the components look like before you guys start. So this is a Schlage Mortise body lock. If you're going to rehand this, it all comes down to this screw here. That screw has to be on the internal side or the inside, so that always lets you out. Okay. Let's see if I've got. That's how you know that it lets you out, because this would be the outside where that is pointed out, and this screw right here will always let you out, so this would be the inside like so, and then this side remains locked. Now, let's go ahead and tear this thing apart, or we can actually rehand it here if you like. So we can take this, basically pull it out and turn it like so. Okay, and then you would take the screw out here. This side would be the side that allows you to go out, and this side would be the side that remains locked. Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Wayne, and I want to talk about some things that I've noticed after working with Workies. Now, one of the things that we did before was we would just use the standard QuickBooks invoicing system, and when we did that, it didn't offer an option for tipping when we were using that platform at that time. I have noticed a significant uptick in tips that people give. I did not ever expect that people would tip on a $400, $500, $600 job, and they will tip 10% on that. So it is actually increasing our entire bottom line very significantly, and my technicians really enjoy this process because those tips go directly to them as well. So the tipping feature on the Workies platform is absolutely raising our entire income across the board, along with all the other fantastic things it does. Check out the link below for more information. Thanks for watching. Okay, so we'll take apart this gigantic cylinder here. This is a very unique cylinder, and it's like an extension. This bolt in the back here goes ahead and joins the two cylinders together, making an extra long mortise cylinder. This is for an extra thick door, that's why it's so big. Here it does rekey just like a normal conventional cylinder. You just need to have a long plug follower, and you can see how there's, it looks like 1, 2, 3 extensions that are added to the original cylinder plug to actually make this gigantic thing work. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different holes that you could put pins in if you could get the cylinder to actually work in that dynamic. However, here we're just able to rekey this as a normal conventional lock and put it all back together so that it fits this ultra thick door. We've got a customer with a GMC SUV that they got locked out. Able to easily gain entry in just a few minutes and help this customer along their journey. Alrighty, so we've got our complaint here is that the door is not opening. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and take a look at the latch and see if it's moving at all. So let's see if we have any movement. So you can see it's moving, it's just not moving enough. Okay, so the problem is it's not being retracted far enough, so we have to figure out how to do that. Okay, so now we've got 2 airbags in here, and we can definitely see that latch a whole lot better now. Take a look and see that little fella right there. All right. Okay. So yeah, just not retracting far enough. Alright, so this latch is completely trashed. Okay. We should be able to save this just by replacing the latch, but yeah, this one is completely trashed out on there. It doesn't even go in anymore. So hopefully we just replace the latch and we're good to go. Alright, so we just so happen to have another latch here. commercial grade latch, fire rated latch, has the F stamped in it. So we can get them at least going for today. We can order another Marks latch later. That's what we need to do, but right now we're just going to get this thing plugged in so that they can use the door, because they couldn't even get in or out. We're actually going to be replacing this lock after talking with the customer, so this is going to be a temporary fix until we can get a new lock installed. On this job, we're going to be using the Hinge Doctor. This is the Hulk. Sometimes you are going to have to remove the trim in order to get the tool into place, but you can see how it re-swedges the hinge so that the door will actually pull away from the frame on the opening side. The original problem with the door was that the latch was not latching correctly, so it was hanging and sagging too low. You could easily see that by the wear marks on the strike plate where the strike and the latch actually come together. So instead of grinding the latch, the more proper solution is to actually fix the entire problem and either replace the hinges or use this Hinge Doctor to actually pull them back up so that it undoes what gravity's done over the last 30 years. In this case, we do have to pull that trim back a little bit. If you do have to do that, just make sure you're careful so you don't damage anything. You don't want to damage anything, either the drywall or the trim itself, so just gently pull on that with a pry bar like I'm doing here. You could also get under it with an air wedge as well. And then again, you can see what that Hulk does. It's designed to adjust each one of the tabs. So you go down the hinge slowly. It's not one single adjustment. It's usually 3 or 4, depending on how many of those little straps you have there that need to actually be adjusted. The other thing you'll notice is the airbag in the opening side. That's going to maximize your adjustment. It's going to shove the door all the way over to the frame hinge side of the door, fixing the problem permanently. Thank you for watching, and check out lots of stuff going on this lock POV right here. Their complaint is that the lock is very stiff to work with the key in either direction, and I'm showing that here. You can see that that tailpiece is missing a screw, so we'll obviously have to put that back. It's also very, very stiff. So the linkage needs lubricated. And this handle is also skipping spring. You can see that the one side of the post is bent, and it's not actually catching the return spring in the down direction. So I would say that was forced, abused, or possibly a bear came in contact with it and forced it down. That would make the most sense to me. So we take the back plate off, take this other plate off. You can see how that piece is bent. Just grab it with some vice grips and a screwdriver and go ahead and rebend it so that it's straight and perpendicular and it won't let that spring past it. Then put everything back in place. Using some red and tacky grease, we're able to lubricate those parts with a nice heavy-duty lubricant that's going to allow everything to operate smoothly. I like the red and tacky over any lithium grease or any of that white grease. That stuff tends to get a little crusty after a while. Now we need to go ahead and rekey the lock once we've got the spring taken care of and everything has been lubricated. So we just pop that screw down, or that little ring, and then everything is functioning perfectly smooth and fine. Hello, today we're going to be installing the Lockly VISAGE. This is going to be able to be controlled and opened by biometrics. You can open it with your face, you can open it with a fingerprint, you can open it with a code, you can open it with your phone, and you can unlock it with a RFID tag as well. The first thing that you're going to do is install the lock bolt. You can choose the 2 3/4 or 2 3/8 inch back set, and then you simply install the 2 mounting screws that attach the lock bolt into the preparation hole. This is being installed on a display unit, and I wanted to do that so that I could show you both sides. It's very difficult to get a lock installation on a door because the light doesn't allow for very good capture of that footage. The next thing you're going to do is rotate the bolt in the extended position, and so the tailpiece is in the vertical position, as you can see here. This is extremely important during the handing portion of the lock, so you'll need to do that. Next, you'll grab the black screws on a normal thickness door, and you will go ahead and screw those down and attach the back plate, running the wires underneath the lock bolt and through that back plate hole where you can see here. Very easy to understand and see. Next, we're going to actually make that connection, and we're going to connect this smaller little round portion and tuck that into the back of the lock. Then we're going to connect the main connector there. And because we have a 2 3/8 back set hole on this lock, I'm going to pull that one portion of the door position sensor off. It's set up to do 2 3/4 or 2 3/8 inch back set. In this smaller format, we're going to break that piece off. And now the door position sensor wire needs to run out the bottom of the hole that's already pre-cut into it so that you don't pinch or crush the wire. Make sure that that's fully extended and out of the way. Then you're going to take the 4 short, small screws to attach the internal portion or the back plate of the lock to the portion that's been mounted on the door. Next, you take your door position sensor, go ahead and peel the sticky off of that and go ahead and set it on the edge of the door. We don't have a frame portion to put the other magnet on, so we're just going to mount it above it so we can show and display this lock and see how it works. Next, you're going to install the battery pack, push and hold that programming button for a few seconds, and then the lock will go ahead and hand itself, choosing its own handing and self-correcting. Next, you wake up the keypad, use the code 123456 as the factory installed code and make sure that it's working. Then go ahead and test the key and the thumb turn. Next, we'll go ahead and install the protection plate, which will cover over the keypad and keep that protected, also having a QR code in it to help as well. There you have the total installation of the Lockly VISAGE. Alrighty, so to come home, unlock my door. And go. This section is brought to you by Frontline Defense. There is a Frontline Defense system for almost every locking application, including sliding glass doors like this one here. It will both increase your security, not allowing any credit cards or anything to be shoved in between the door frame and the door lock itself, and keep the weather out. Check out Frontline Defense. Hey everyone, this is Wayne here with Pacific Lock Company and Pack Blue by Pack Lock. This is a Pelican case demo unit that you can literally have in your van or in your shop. You could set this up in your shop, but really within the Pelican case unit, you can actually send this out with your technicians. I have used this system and been able to sell it right on the spot because I had this directly right in my truck ready to go. I'm going to show you what's inside here real quick. You just pop these little clips. It's a very compact, very eye-catching little unit. And as soon as you pull it out, you really have your customer's attention. It has this laminated portion here so you can tell them all about the features. And this is the easiest to install hardwired electronic access system on the market, hands down. This is your power supply. It's this big. It's the size of a pack of cards or a deck of cards, for crying out loud. This is your power supply and this is your reader. It communicates with your phone app so that you can actually operate the unit. And if people ask, well, there's no keypad on the outside, there's no reader on the outside, there's no credential reader, it's a clean installation. And you can literally show them how this works just by using the external device right here. This pops off and allows you to add a 9-volt battery. So if your customer asks you, hey, what happens if the power goes out on my building? How do I actually operate this system? Well, you hook that 9-volt battery up right to this right here. You could install it on the outside just like a mechanical key override, and then your blue light will come on and you can literally show them how their system would work. Here's the button on the back to go ahead and release, and you can also show them how the app works. You can connect this to your phone, to your text phone. They can show how the app works. They push the button, it unlocks, or you can show them how the button works right here. Okay, super easy, super clean, super cool, and it shows them and gives them an idea of how this system works right in their hand. Okay, so this is the electronic strike version that they're going to give you with the 9-volt battery. The other one, they're going to give you a magnetic locking system. It's going to plug directly into your transformer. We could plug this into the 9-volt battery unit too, but I actually have this set up to where it's plugged right into the into power. So you literally just grab your power cord, and this is, instead of hiring an electrician and having a power supply, that's all you do. Then it brings the light on to blue, as you can see here. Click. You show them that the magnetic lock works, just like that. The mag lock works right there. And then when you hit the button on the app, click, and the magnet comes off. Okay, power comes back on, magnet sticks back on. You can literally put this in your customer's hands, let them touch it, let them feel it, let them see it, and it looks awesome. It looks like it's new and fresh and secure more than anything else, with no external keypads. This is the future of electronic access. For more information, check out the website below. Please call or email your supplier and ask them for the Pacific Lock Company's Pack Blue system, and ask them for this demo case right here so that you can show this to your customers and start selling this today. You can also get monthly recurring revenue from products like this, because there's a monthly subscription that goes along with it that you can actually get a piece of, so you can earn money long term. Every time you sell one of these systems, you get monthly recurring revenue for your business and your company. Thanks for watching. Check out Pack Blue by Pack Lock. Thanks for watching.